Please join me in welcoming the Rahmé Team, a married power couple of real estate brokers with an expanding Brooklyn-based team at Compass, the largest independent broker in the country with a network of over 25,000 agents. Grace and Fouad Rahmé have been partners in real estate for nearly 20 years, representing a diverse clientele due to the handful of languages they speak and their professional background in finance, law, property management, and new development, consulting, and marketing. Today, we'll dive into their expansive careers. So welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your initial dream and how it has evolved into the work that you're doing today.
I wouldn't really call it a dream. I think it was more a necessity back when I got into real estate. It was right after 9/11, and I have a background in finance. And the markets weren't doing so well after that, so I was trying to figure out what to do. I had just arrived to New York, didn't really know the city that well, and decided to try my hand in real estate. And I really loved it. And, it's been now almost 20 years that we've been in it. And it's been a great experience.
And for me, I was actually in law school at the time. I was probably in my second year of law school. And I realized, I don't want to practice law. I'll still complete law school. I'll take the bar exam. I am licensed in New York and New Jersey, but I realized, it just wasn't for me. I didn't want to sit behind a desk and, work on a lot of paperwork. And I also didn't want to go to court, So I maybe should have thought about that before I went to law school. But those were things I figured. And, I wanted to pursue things that I did have more interest in, things that are more philanthropic and artistic. And so, I thought real estate is really hot at the moment. It was 2005. What's the fastest way I can learn about real estate and make some income? So I got my license. And that's also how I was introduced to Fouad. It was through one of the partners at the firm. That he was a good friend of Fouad's, and actually became our best man at our wedding. So this path, was opened a lot of doors. But the goal, the plan, the vision, initially was to learn about real estate, create some passive income, possibly get into development. And I think both of us were, kind of curious about development, and that sort of led to also the clientele we eventually did end up, working with. And I did end up having a chance to do the things that, I enjoy doing, when the real estate market kind of started softening a lot and we had that, big recession. We had to get a lot more creative with the way we marketed properties. So, we had all these new developments, and it was just the two of us. We were like, how are we going to show all these properties? And it's got these great 18-foot high ceilings, and there are all these artists who, whose work are just sitting in storage. So we had a big art walk and had over 500 people coming to see, a new project and a new neighborhood that they otherwise wouldn't have visited. And we also had fundraisers and art auctions. So, I was able to actually incorporate the things that, I was passionate about. And then eventually real estate actually became a passion because, my passion is working with people, and that's what you do all day in real estate.
Oh, wow. I love that. Oh my gosh. So your website explains that you've been involved in every type of deal and excelled through even market lows. Can you tell us what has been the most challenging part of running your company, and how do you continue to push for success?
I think the last part of your question is, the market lows. How do you adapt in a changing market? How do you, shift from doing one thing in the industry and then going to, shifting to a different direction in order to keep the momentum going, keep the flow of things, the deals being done. So I think that was the most challenging. And we've seen a couple of market changes, and just adapting and being able to sustain and, survive throughout those market changes. That was the hardest part, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think I answered part of that with my response to the first question, how we had to get very creative and basically reach out to other, for other partnerships and collaborations. So, that's how we really were successful. We didn't do it alone. We started bringing on a team of agents, and, we did a lot of networking and worked with local restaurants for, food tastings, and just to put the word out there. But also that's kind of how we became more diverse in the type of product, we market, because, I think a lot of people were focusing, at really, they want to get the biggest deal. So, a lot of agents were maybe focusing on very high end sales. And, when the market tanked, things kind of shifted a different direction. And we were extremely successful with one development where, with the price point, because they were, there was a program called, FHA, where you could do very low down payment, 3.5%. And the starting price point for these apartments was around $300,000. And, you could basically own for the price of renting, even your down payment and upfront costs were lower than paying a broker's fee for an apartment. So we held a lot of first-time home buyer seminars. We collaborated with lenders who help do presentations just to show the breakdown. And we were very successful during that time. And, also we see a lot of agents who were just focusing only on sales. And, sometimes you need rentals to sort of be able to support you through some market lows. So being able to kind of, be successful as an agent, sometimes you have to be a little bit more diversified. Although, we do believe it is important to have a niche as well.
Wow, so innovative too. Oh my gosh, with the food tastings and everything, that sounds incredible. So what advice would you give to people who want to be involved with real estate sales? Like how you were saying, kind of the diversification, but also finding a niche.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to have a mentor, people that can guide you, possibly joining a team as well. That would be, my strategy. When I started, I didn't know New York. I didn't know, real estate, because I came from a completely different industry, and especially real estate in New York, which is so different than anywhere else. I wish I would have had, a mentor that would have taken me under their wing. And I was at a small firm, so it was a little different. We had to basically learn everything on our own. We had to, from the very ground up, learn real estate, learn what to do, rentals, sales, commercial, so it gave me a lot of insight. There was a learning curve, but eventually we were able to start doing bigger things, and it's been a good ride.
I agree, I think mentors are available all around us, and we were both at this boutique brokerage, and the principals, I would say, of the brokerage, were sort of our mentors, but they were mostly Manhattan based, and we wanted to expand into Brooklyn. So, we took some of the lessons they taught us, but we also, expanded into something that we were interested in. And as Fouad mentioned, I think joining a team is helpful. At that time, teams were not as common as they are today. And I think because a lot of the smaller brokerages are now being absorbed by bigger firms, it's even more important to become a part of a team, because the principal of the brokerage is not going to have time to mentor you, and they have 25,000 agents that they're also, overseeing. So there's definitely mentors all around, and joining a team where roles are sort of very, specifically described, and everybody knows what they're supposed to do, and having a common vision and shared goal, and knowing like the vehicle of how you're going to get there, that's very helpful.
Yeah, wow.
I think we both wish we had that at the time too, because there were some times, I will say, when I was walking around showing rentals in Bed-Stuy and asking myself, why did I go to law school to do this?
I think it's also, everything's more accessible today with the internet and all the, TikTok videos. You've got, the YouTube channels. So, you can learn there a lot. Back when, when we started 20 years ago, it was a little different. You didn't really have access to all the information, everything you could learn on the internet on your own. It would have made things so much easier.
Yeah. And I would add that Fouad was my mentor as well. Like, he was in the business a couple of years before I was, and he would, hand over some listings that he maybe didn't necessarily want to handle because he was focusing still on Manhattan at the time. And, I just made that my own, and expanded that network. And then my sister also eventually became an agent. She did even better than both of us did in her first year. And I think that is a mentor's goal, is to see, that your mentee become even more successful than you. That's when like you've been a good mentor to somebody.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you pass along that knowledge and everything, of course.
I think it's like raising kids too. You want your kids to be better than you in life, right?
It's evolution.
It's kind of the same thing with when someone joins your team. You want them to succeed, you want them to thrive, and you want them to get good and even better than you. That's just the way it is.
One of the Compass slogans is collaborate without ego, and I think that really says it all. Like, we really want to see, people on our team, the agents on our team, succeed and become better than us.
I love that. Oh my gosh. And it's truly like you have to put your ego aside when mentoring, because you want somebody to learn from you.
Or working on a team in general.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. So, do you have any upcoming projects or business goals that you've been looking forward to?
Absolutely. You want to talk a little about it? Well, so there are some that are in the pipeline that, we won't get too much into detail because it's still, in the works, but we are working on, more community outreach events and just becoming really hyper local and having each agent on the team really focusing on their community, picking one community that they're very connected with, and just, becoming even more involved with that community. And, that will help us expand. We are also working with mentors of our own. We've hired basically several coaches for many different aspects of our lives. And we highly believe, in having someone who's more knowledgeable than you guide you through that way. Also, we have some concierge programs. Compass has a Compass concierge program that basically, actually, you can explain this better, the concierge program.
Yeah, so we have a program that's called Compass Concierge, where we will give an owner or an owner of a property the funds to do some renovation prior to listing. So it basically, you're trying to give, because most people have their equity tied up in their home. And some don't have the means to do the renovation. They just want to get out of the project or their home. Sorry. So we give them the funds to do the renovation. We will also help manage that and refer contractors that have worked with various different Compass agents or with us as well. And then we will do the work prior to listing the home. And then if you do renovations, cosmetic upgrades, or whatever it might be, you could do other renovations as well. If it's painting a facade or, redoing a kitchen or redoing bathrooms, that all adds value to, your home when you want to go sell it. So we're trying to maximize the value of someone's home prior to listing it.
Yeah, so it's truly a concierge service, because a lot of times it's not even necessarily the money that's stopping a seller from putting a little work into their home to make it more marketable. And especially in today's market, where people are just visually so used to seeing everything so perfectly staged, because there's virtual staging, and everything is pretty much there's a lot of photoshopping that's happening with a lot of listings and Instagram, so just visually people are used to seeing things perfectly curated. And so, you want that in-person experience to be just as good, so, but the sellers often just don't have time. They have full-time jobs, or they've already moved and retired somewhere else, and they're ready to move on from this, and they don't want to be project managing and overseeing contractors. And that's where we come in, and our background, in property management and new development consulting and management, I think really helps out in this case, because not only do they get the loan that is interest free and zero fees that they pay back at the closing, but they also get this full concierge service of us helping to project manage And, similarly on the buy side, this hasn't rolled out with Compass yet, but, we're basically starting. We've been doing this over the years, which is helping buyers who are looking, they aren't finding the home that they're interested in, because a lot of people who are just flipping homes, investors who just buy and flip the homes, they don't necessarily put in the quality type of work or finishes that some buyers are looking for or expecting for that price point. So like we had a set of buyers who we just, after looking at all the stuff that was already in move-in condition, we ended up talking to the idea about, why don't you just create what you're looking for? That's what we did with our home.
So on the buy side, I think it's all about putting a team together that the client is comfortable with moving forward, so that it takes away, some people get anxious about it. Some people don't know, what it's going to look like in the end. But when you have a good team that puts everything in place and gives a perspective, I feel it makes the buyer more comfortable, or the person more comfortable to take on a project like that.
And we're seeing prices, that are, because of just a little bit of cosmetic work that's being done, a little bit of light staging that we're doing, selling from anywhere between 5 and 20%, higher than what a neighbor sells their place for just a month ago, with, almost a near identical property. So, this is really like a win-win for the owner, and what the emphasis is, just, it's a concierge service, less hassle for them, more money for them in their pocket.
Oh, absolutely. And you guys are creating such a powerful team behind them. How could you not trust who you're working with? And so, do you have any, does Compass provide resources, or do you guys have any advice that you would pass on for people who want to invest in New York City real estate?
Look, New York City has always been, over the years, a great place to invest. It's, a place where you do see appreciation most times, for almost all the time, if you hold the asset long enough. Again, if you're looking to invest in New York City, find a good advisor who can guide you. I think that's the key, trying to do it on your own. There's a lot of nuances that you have to navigate in New York City that's very different than the rest of the country. So I think, if you have a good advisor, a good team on your side, you'll make the right choices along the way.
Yeah, and we really keep it like a bespoke service, where we really try to understand the client's goals. And we have investors who are both first-time investors to very seasoned investors, and we try to understand what their goal is first. Is this something you're looking to hold short-term or long-term? And as Fouad mentioned, in New York City, holding it long-term really usually makes more sense, especially if you want to create like a rental portfolio of rental properties. Depends, if you're investing in more up and coming neighborhoods, you'll also have more opportunities for appreciation. But oftentimes, investor isn't familiar with a lot of these neighborhoods, and that's where we sort of step in. And like with the developers and investors we were working with, the people we saw who had the most gains were the ones who were willing to take that risk and enter into more of a new, a new frontier, and be like sort of the first pioneers in that neighborhood, or one of the earlier ones at least.
Oh, well, I think that's all my questions for today, Grace and Fouad. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
We really appreciate it. Thank you for
having us. This was fun.